How do I move with this sexual energy with intention? I still have a fear of men. You feel the abundant nature of love in every single day and every single moment. There are so many forms of intimacy that mean more to me and that please and pleasure me more than just having sex. Hello, my fellow students of love. I have made so many videos about relating, sex, sexuality, and I just thought it would be really fun to do a little deep dive on my relationship to men, sex, and love right now in this phase of my life where I feel like I'm deepening into the woman that I want to be in the world. This channel is such an amalgamation of all the things I wish I could share with my younger self, so thanks for tuning in. I genuinely am wondering how the girlies are coping with this world of men. Like, I'm wondering if everyone else freaks out as much as I do, has as much anxiety as I do, still struggles to not have obligational interactions. And that's what I really wanted to dive into. But before I get too far into today's video, I just wanted to let you know that my friends and I at Balesa are hosting a giveaway where everyone gets either a free vibrator or gift card. Everyone who enters wins something. So it'll be the first link in my description box below. And I just feel like self-pleasure practice is something that I really like to do to connect even deeper with myself, and it's just another one of those doorways for me. But I just wanted to share a little bit about my favorite toys from them. Balesa is a bi-woman company for all things sexuality, including sex ed, erotica, and sex toys, and they're on a mission to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. So this is the Pebble. Their packaging is so cute and compact and also rechargeable, so there's no batteries. You just get to charge it with a USB in their case, and the Pebble is so tiny. It's basically a little clit sucker. You can just have orgasm after orgasm with this thing, and there aren't any annoying patterns, but just different levels of intensity. This is made from premium grade silicone and is waterproof. And then this is the Air Vibe, which is also super compact, and this is my favorite because it has both G-spot and clitoral stimulation, but you can choose to just use one depending on what your mood is. But I think toys are a great way to open up new pleasure pathways. But if you're curious about them and furthering your exploration in this way, click the link in my description box. But from a very young age, I was always so excited to be in my body. I was so excited about love and that magic energy of chemistry that just naturally happens with people. Had a really good relationship to my body until I started to share it with other people, started to feel taken advantage of, stopped feeling like I knew how to tune into my body when I was sharing it with others. Want to share my baseline preliminary beliefs about sex is that our sexual desires and our sexual nature is this natural thing within us, just as natural as our feelings that ebb and flow. It is about how we relate to our sexual energy that can make it good or bad, toxic or healthy. And I understand everyone has their beliefs that come from different reasons, and I completely understand and can see everyone's nuanced belief system about this. But for me, I think that this is a natural energy within us, and the thing that causes distortion is having an unhealthy relationship with sexuality and can lead people to do really evil and heavy things when they're repressing themselves, when they're shaming themselves, versus when they're like, okay, I feel this within me. How do I cultivate this in a healthy way? How do I move with this sexual energy with intention? And I feel like that is a very empowered place to move from. And as much as I talk about sex and share sex tips, it's not my driving force in life. It's not what I'm constantly thinking about, but I am deeply aware of my relationship to it and how I want to use it, which has been a really healthy thing for me and has actually brought me out of imbalance. Like, before I really started doing my own research and taking field notes about sex and sexuality, I would use sex for validation and would use sex for comfort, or would be lonely and want to be cuddled, and the only way I knew how to get that from a man was to have sex with him. And it felt so painful to my spirit because I wasn't genuinely listening to the information of my body, the root of those desires, that I wanted intimacy and safety and connection. And the more that I rest into my natural desires and feelings, I can actually be a really safe person for my body, and I can advocate for my experience. If it is a natural experience within us, then it can't be wrong. Just like our feelings, our sexual energy and where it lies, it can't be right or wrong. It's just what is. And if there's a desire to have a higher libido, then there's ways that you can implement that. But if you're happy with where you're at and not needing to prioritize sex, not needing to think about it, then that sounds fucking amazing to me. And I think what is the most radiant and energetically attractive is deeply knowing yourself, and owning your desire also translates into the bedroom with the authenticity of the sex you're having. Like there's even less performance if you're like, hey, I probably only want to have sex like once a week. I feel most excited when I have, 30 minutes of foreplay, and I feel most excited when we're breathing regularly together. The moment that you start advocating for who you are in one facet of your life, I really feel like it ripples out into so many other forms, and especially sharing one like sexual or bodily boundary for me makes me feel so empowered to be like, and while we're at it, let me unleash all these other things that I know about my body. And I feel like we all know so much about our body's needs and how they respond and react, and we keep them to ourselves and then feel deeply shameful or confused or even resentful when other people aren't aware of how to treat us. So there's no information that your body is telling you that can be right or wrong, but it's just about sharing that and presenting that and putting yourself in situations where it is safe to be in whatever your embodiment is. And it took me so long to learn that sex should be about enjoying the experiences in my body and a reciprocal exchange of pleasure rather than just a thing that made me feel validated in my like femininity, or a thing that made me feel validated because I was good at it. It was a performance for most of my life because I was slut shamed from such a young age just because I developed early, and I was fetishized because I'm Asian and started to, get curves and a chest. And my intimate moments with my body in my room were so holy and so wonderful. And then when I went out in the world and had to navigate what to do with everyone's thoughts about my body, and there were so many because I was slut shamed, and boys would make up rumors about me that everyone would believe, and the girls would hate me. It's just a classic tale as old as time. But even having older men looking at me, desiring me, and even assaulting me, like it made me so confused. This sexual life force that I had became theirs. Like it was no longer my sacred, intimate thing that I was experiencing, and became this thing that other people were distorting. But I have had so much obligational sex in my life, and it honestly breaks my heart for my younger self. But I know that this is a shared experience among so many women, that it's easier to just say yes and have obligational sex than deal with the discomfort or displeasure of men to hold that awkwardness. I feel like it's really scary. I have felt untrusting of myself because I would put myself in positions with people that I was then afraid to say no to or afraid to advocate for my pleasure around. And I'm at a point in my life where I've realized that being comfortable is the most conducive and important thing for any relationship that I'm having, and definitely for sexual relationships. If I'm not comfortable speaking a boundary to you, if I'm not comfortable being like ugly around you, then we cannot be having sex. And by that I mean like the level of comfort I have around my sisters where I haven't washed my hair in 3 days, I have like, acne and I'm not bothered by it, and I'm bloated. Like if I can hang with you in that specific scenario, there's no part of me that is performing or sucking in or needing to put foundation on. But that is my meter now, because I have been in long-term relationships for most of my life, and the past I think 6 months I have been single, and I have had little loverships and moments with people, and I've noticed how the sex really does not expand the plot if I'm having it without feeling fully comfortable with the person. And for some people, sex might be that conduit to that, like, okay, now I feel deeply intimate and connected. But for me, especially with men, it doesn't really add or further the connection if I'm not already feeling completely unfurled, unclenched in my body. And honestly, I have lied a lot in my life, specifically to men, about what my actual feelings were out of fear of hurting them. And I am not afraid about, being radically honest with friends, being real, but with men in particular, maybe it's because there's an inherent fear there. I am afraid to even say, actually, I don't think that I want to date you, or I don't think this relationship is working for me. It's like such an intense thing. It's shocking to hear myself say it, but I feel like this is just so normal. I have been practicing radical honesty in my life the past few months because I have been single for the longest period of time that I've ever been in my adult life, which is literally like 6 months. And so I've had many opportunities to use my voice, and it's been my new little thrill lately, is to say the most honest and true thing. And I've learned that when I'm lying about how I actually feel in a relationship, it completely taints the relationship. It doesn't allow for actual intimacy to take place and preventing their evolution, honestly. And I do believe that women being radically honest with men as frequently as possible is so needed in this world. I really feel like we're having such different experiences, and it's kind of nice to bridge that gap. But I'm at a point where I am in a little celibacy phase again. I don't know how long I will be in it. I've learned that there are so many forms of intimacy that mean more to me and that like please and pleasure me more than just having sex. It almost feels like sex is the easiest thing that you can do when you have attraction or connection to someone. It's like the easiest thing you can fall into. But what I find to be more intimate is being deeply radically honest, is sharing parts of yourself that you can't share with most people, or having experiences that you could only have with that one specific person, or growing together, growing more brave, more courageous by someone's side. Like that kind of thrill means more to me than just seeing someone naked or them seeing me naked and connecting that way. I think that I need all those other forms of intimacy first, and then sex is really just like an icing on the cake. Deeply connecting with someone emotionally and spiritually, that does so much more for me. And I'm at a point where I have actual guy friends, and to feel valued and to feel deeply seen and like I can have such a good time with someone, especially a man, without sharing my body has been life-changing. But I still have a fear of men in general, and I will feel anxiety and smallness, and I'll be a little bit on edge. Literally anytime that I'm around a man, anytime they're engaging with me, my defenses are slightly up. I'm like, what does this person want? How am I gonna escape the situation? Even if it's literally a conversation, I'm just being completely real here. Usually like, how do I get out of this as quickly as possible, especially if I can tell they're hitting on me or wanting something from me. And in some ways, I feel like I've been disempowering myself a little bit because I just allow all of their energy and their preference or their desires to take up all of the space in the room or in my judgment, instead of being like fully rooted in my energy and what I want and how I want to be respected, and just vocalizing that. It would just be like, oh, there's a man, like completely all of me disappears now. And I've been working on that. I've been much better at just fully being in my power and being like, what do you no thank you, like I don't want you to engage with me in this way. However, because I feel this with every single man, initially when I start dating someone or talking to them, I'll feel all these feelings of anxiety, and over time I can get to a place where that is completely gone. I feel so comfortable with them, so safe with them, and have the best friendships. That's how I feel about literally all of my guy friends. Initially I'm like have all my boundaries up, and then over time I'm like, oh my god, you're actually so safe, so cool, and now we're homies. And so for me, I've been learning how to be discerning about how much of that anxiety is my own and how much of it is them actually making me uncomfortable. And I have a list of questions written down for what I kind of think in my head when I'm like, okay, do I want to keep engaging with this man or not? Does he surround himself? And is he nice with women who aren't conventionally attractive? AKA, does he respect and value women that he wouldn't sleep with? How does this person speak of their exes or their mother? What is their relationship like to the earth? I swear, when I see men like littering or just being so disrespectful to the earth, I know everything I need to know. But how do they respond to my boundaries, big or small, or in general? How do you feel about me turning you down? If you're really flirty with me and I'm not reciprocating that, are you even able to clock that I'm uncomfortable or that it's not reciprocal? I am excited to keep facing this growing edge because I know that it's just a reflection of this society, my conditioning, even just growing up in like an Asian household. I feel like there is such deep programming in me to be small and quiet and make every situation better and not ruffle any feathers. And I feel like it's definitely one of my assignments to grow deeper into my voice and into my fire. I am also Latina, and whenever I stick up for myself, I feel my mom and that blood inside of me. But regardless, having guy friends is also the result of some heavy boundaries too. Personally, really like to send text messages of like, I really loved hanging out with you today. I can't wait to get to know you better as a friend. I'm really looking for friends in my life at this point. That is 100% all I'm available for. So I ask that any other feelings or desires like completely get cut off if they're there, because I will feel disrespected if you hit on me or tried to push anything forward in that way, but I'm just really excited to be genuine homies. How does that sound for you? Something like that. That's how I would say it, but you can use it in your own voice. And also I've learned to not embody my little Aphrodite essence as much. I just read this book on Greek archetypes, and I definitely feel like this Aphrodite sexual goddess sort of energy is what I always lean into. Like I would just be going on a hike with someone alone, a man alone, wearing a skimpy little outfit and just being like, this feels so good. Maybe jumping in the river naked, just fully out there, like encompassing all of my sensuality and my, you know, whatever being in my body. And I think that's really beautiful, but I've learned and I don't put the responsibility solely on a man to not feel some type of way about me doing that. And I can see, okay, this might get confused if it's not so clear that I'm not interested in them. So I try not to be that open when I'm around men that I literally just want to be friends with. I know it's like a revelation, but I just thought I could be that way around everyone. But I really do reserve that for my sisters or guy friends that I've had maybe for longer periods of time, or in group settings. Really, I think that's like another big one. I'm not always in that essence around them, and I like to cover up a little bit more. I'm cutting off any sexual energy that might want to arise here. I met this really cool girl when I was in Egypt, and she was telling me how she loves having guy friends, and she was so beautiful, so gorgeous, and I was like, how do you do that? And she told me that she has these really clear conversations with them, but she also like allows herself to sometimes be in that, you know, super open, flirty nature, not with them, but maybe they'll go out drinking and she'll just feel really beautiful and want to put on her little dress and interact. And she lets them know, like, sometimes I am going to fully be in my body. That has nothing to do with you. And the moment that you do try to make a move on me, that is the moment that our friendship ends. So please know that when I am in my sensuality, it's just for me, and it's just my experience that I'm having with the world. And it's not about me trying to show off for you. It's not about me trying to entice you. And it will still make me uncomfortable if you come at me with that energy. So that could be something that's worked up to. But I really don't interact with men much in my life because most of them don't meet the criteria that I just shared in this video. Most of them aren't deeply respectful and just happy to be in my life in any capacity. It's whatever is going on there, I don't always feel safe. So I have very few men in my life, and women are literally the center of my life, and I'm so happy with it because women have taught me how I want to be loved. Women have taught me what ease and comfort feel like in my body. Women, you know, being a queer person, have taught me what consent is because they would ask me how my body felt or if I wanted them to keep going. You know, they were constantly checking in with my moment-to-moment experience, and I feel like that definitely translates outside of the bedroom. It is so easy to imagine me spending the rest of my life just being surrounded by my close girlfriends, and I would be so happy with that. That's like plan A, and then if a man is in my life, then he'll be part of that. But I just don't want or need for any other form of love or intimacy because I'm so met by my female friends, and it is a healing love, and it is romantic, and it is intimate, and it makes me more brave, and it expands me. And if I don't feel that with a man, then I know that I don't want them in my life. Like if they don't give me that same or a similar level of comfort and excitement and joy and permission to be myself, that's not going to add to my experience. And I just want to speak on that for a second because I think a lot of us who maybe also have fear of men or anxiety in the world around men, when we find someone who we're really comfortable with and that anxiety over time dissipates, it can be easy to hold on to them beyond the point that they should be in our lives. Like maybe you're in a relationship with someone who isn't fully treating you right, or you've outgrown, but you don't want to have to go out there and start dating again or start relating to men in every way. So you end up staying in a relationship longer than you should because of that. And I just want to remind you, something that I've also had to remind myself, that it took time to get to that point of comfort with a man. And if it's worth it and it feels so right with someone, you will take the time to get comfortable with them and feel just as deeply intimate and loved and maybe cared for in a way that feels even more true or right for you versus the relationship that you're in out of fear of having to start over again. And having female connections, having forms of unconditional, stable love in your life will prevent you from going to places that are are half-baked or that are not high quality nourishment. So that for me, like having a group of women who unconditionally love you is the most powerful thing that I have in my life and that any person can have in their life. It will inform your decision making in such a lovely way and help you to make decisions out of love and trust and abundance rather than lack and fear and aversion. So biggest takeaway from this video is invest in your female friendships, specifically the ones that feel like family, that feel like you can grow old together. Like it is a force like no other, and it just fully fulfills my heart. But it definitely has helped my relationship with men and helped me gauge what I should be entertaining, the treatment that I should receive. And I also like the idea of having your female friends sort of vet the men that you're with, or at least allowing yourself to receive honest feedback from them. Like, okay, what do you think about the way he treated me, or how our dynamic was with respect to you in your decision making? But the more that I spent time with partners with my friends, I realized like if there was any dissonance or their reflections meant so much to me because I trust their voice of love and I trust their viewpoint so fully. And I noticed that when I didn't want to bring my partners around my friends, it's because they were clearly not treating me right. And I was embarrassed because I knew my friends would clock that and not let me be mistreated moving forward. Those are just some lingering thoughts for me. But yeah, I just feel so deeply fulfilled right now. I'm not running away from anything. I'm not attaching to anything. I just feel so deeply fulfilled with where I'm at. And that's what makes me feel like I could just stay right here in this little pocket with my girlfriends and not have a worry in the world. And I only want connections of any sort, sexual, romantic, spiritual, that are going to add to the plot and further my bravery and excitement for this life. And I'm just really excited to keep being myself. I think that in many relationships that I've had with men specifically, I've put parts of myself on a damper, tucked certain parts of myself away. They couldn't really exist within my relationships. And now that I'm single, I'm like, wow, literally all of me can exist in every single space that I'm creating for myself. And it's the first time. And I'm so happy that I've given myself this time to learn myself more, learn my values more, be single so that I could feel into what intimacy actually means to me and sex. And now I really know what I'm prioritizing. And it's literally just unconditional love and authenticity and people that make it feel easy for me to be honest and honestly myself. And I feel so deeply empowered and like I'm rooted in a soft little nest of myself. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and where you're at right now and how you're relating to the world and to men and sex and love. I feel like love is just such a moving force in the world. It's not something that we could ever force. Chemistry is not something that we can force. And when your life is full of so many different pockets of stable, unconditional love, there is such a harmony that you have with the universe, it feels like. You feel the abundant nature of love in every single day and every single moment. And there's no grasping. And it is such an empowered place to rest. And I just wish and pray that for all of us. But thank you so much for being here and sharing this time with me. I hope to see you in a video soon. Bye.